When Hashem promises Avraham Avinu that his children will emerge as a great nation, he compares us, the Bnei Yisrael, to two things. V'samti zaracha kechol hayom. He will make us like the sand by the water. Asher lo yisafer merov. You won't be able to count them. And then Hashem takes Avraham Avinu outside and he says, look up at the stars. Usvora kochavim imtu chal lisporosam. You're not able to count them. So he says, Ko yehiyezarecha. That's what your children will be. Your children will be so much you won't be able to count them, like you can't count sand, just like you can't count stars. In this week's Parsha, Moshe Rabbeinu recalls the difficult moments in which he experienced rebellion at the hands of the Jewish people and frustration. And he says that there were times that he reflected and said, I can't carry you by myself. Lo uchal levadi se'eseschem. And right after that pasuk, Moshe almost explains the previous pasuk by saying, Hashem Elokechem hirba'eschem. Hashem has made you great in number. V'hinechem hayom, and you are today, kichochavei hashamayim larov. We're like the stars. Moshe is saying to Klal Yisrael that we are as many as the stars. Why here did Moshe Rabbeinu not select the comparison of the sand? Why the stars? So the Afike Yehuda explains that the teva, the nature of sand, is to cling. That every piece of sand clings to another. And we know, of course, people take sand, you push it together, and you're able to build a sandcastle. You're able to build things with it. Whereas when it comes to kochavim, when it comes to stars, even as we look from down here on earth and we look up at the stars, even if stars look like they're close to each other, we know that stars are very, very far apart. At this point in history, when Moshe Rabbeinu is expressing frustration that the Jewish people, that Klal Yisrael are giving him a hard time, but really giving HaKadosh Baruch Hu a hard time, he compares them to the stars because the stars are far apart. And so too, Klal Yisrael, when we are far apart, then we have problems. If we're able to be together like sand, if we're able to be connected to each other, then we avoid problems. Then Hashem gives us His bracha. Hashem looks down upon us and gives us all kinds of blessing. But if we are only like the stars in connection, and we are separate from each other, we are nifrad, then Hashem looks down and says, yes, my children are a multitude. However, they seem to be far apart. This week, of course, is the 9 days, and this coming Shabbos and Sunday is Tisha B'Av, the saddest day on the Jewish calendar. And it's a time where we always say it, and it's like a broken record. We talk about sinas chinam, baseless hatred. In truth, we ask ourselves the question, what can I do on an individual level to make this Tisha B'Av meaningful? And I think the suggestion is two things. The first is that we should never live life like a star, caring about ourselves and separating ourselves from everyone else. And the second is that we should try to live life like the sand, to connect ourselves to others, to try to be there for others, to ask ourselves a question, the difficulties that I have with other people, what can I possibly do to work in a positive direction in order to ensure that I get along, that I am able to find a sense of shleimus and shalom within that connection or that relationship, so that I can build, I can take one of the bricks and build the third Beis Hamikdash with my efforts. May we be zochem, may we merit that this Tisha B'Av, we think about the connection that we have with our fellow Jews. We are not simple, and all of our fellow Jews are not simple. We all have tremendous value. We all have our positives, our negatives, our strengths, and our weaknesses. But if we can somehow find a way to look at the positive in each person, then we'll be able to cling to one another just like the sand. And that Hashem will look down and He will have nachas from us and continue to bless us with bracha, most notably the building of the third Beis Hamikdash, B'mheira b'yameinu. Amen. Thank you for listening and have a good Shabbos.